It's a little trick of the trade right there, how to
I
do
love
that.
it.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those already jumping on live, we are here and we are talking about your life, your story. Rise up with Jill O'Boyle. This is going to be so much fun. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sabrina Victoria. I'm the host here at her talk show. And if you have not already subscribed, girl, get on that subscribe button. These podcasts are guaranteed to have you thinking differently about your life and your business.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, drop into the comments and say hello. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. Jill O'Boyle, a high performance coach, author, motivational speaker, and host of the Your Life, Your Story Rise Up podcast. She specializes in communication, productivity, and purpose. As a time management expert, Jill helps high achieving professional women work less, get more done, and reignite passion, freedom, and abundance in all areas of their life. She understands because she's been there, and she knows the path forward to reach massive results in getting your time back while maintaining a life full of peace, productivity, and purpose. Welcome, Jill.
Hey, thank you, Sabrina. It's so great to be here with you today.
Yes, thank you. I so appreciate you being here, taking some time out of your day to hang out with us and talk about this awesome subject. I love talking to high achievers. I love talking to individuals around time management, productivity. I really do feel like that is the problem,
Mm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Even if you think of
Yeah,
health.
yeah.
Like, our health is a array. It's because you didn't freaking prioritize that in the timeline of life to work
There you go.
out, meal plan, doctor's appointments, heading to the dentist, whatever it is. If you look
Yep.
at all the things, even divorce, it's like taking the time to sit down, figure it out before the marriage, during the marriage,
Yes.
re
Right.
therapy, counseling. We wait until it gets, you know, we marry the wrong person because we didn't sit down and have the conversations, or we're in the marriage and we don't fix the things. It's all a lack of time management, organization, procrastination, right?
Yes. So hurry. So many of us feel like life is just busy, right? And
Yeah.
so what do? We just check off the boxes. We just go through life, just hurrying it away, rushing through, like you said, not really stopping and thinking like, does what I'm doing matter?
Mm.
Every lot. When I work with my clients, that's the one thing that I hear all the time is, Jill, you're amazing at productivity. You're amazing at organization. You say that you can make my life more peaceful and purposeful. Show me how. And I say, okay. And say, well, I just want to get everything done and still have a life. And I'm like, okay, great. I'll help you with that. But first, let's talk about what is everything. Like, what is
Ah,
everything, and does it all matter? And that's what we get into. So I always say that, hurry, right? If you're living your life always in a hurry, if you are listening and you're like, yep, that's me, always living my life in a hurry, always living a busy life, I always say that hurry is not a disordered schedule. And that always catches people off guard because, like, wait, what do you mean? Because really what it comes down to is hurry is a disordered heart. And I had found that in my own story as I really, really sat down. What am I busy doing? Why am I so burnt out? Why did I find myself in this rock bottom moment? And in
hmm.
those moments, you think, oh, it's all the things. It's just all the things I'm doing. It's the toxic boss. It's the culture I'm in. It's this. It's my marriage. All the things. But there's a lot more that's going on inside the heart. So, yeah, it's a topic that I love to get into. Love to talk about.
Wow. So, heart, this is so interesting to me. So, a disordered heart.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that could look a few different ways,
Yeah.
a few different things, depending on your value system,
Yes. There you go.
right?
And
Because it could be a
values
lack of
are so
family, it could be
important.
a lack of spirituality, it could be a lack of certainty, depending on,
Mhm.
like, your
Yeah.
values.
Yeah. And it goes back to that. And so many times, I know for me, I never really thought about values in the sense that, people would say core values, and instantly my mind was like, oh, core values. Yeah, what my corporate job's core values are, right? I know what our mission statement is. I know what their core values are, but values about me, like what do you mean? Right? Because our
Mm,
values are our principles, it's our guidelines, it's our non-negotiables about what we stand for. It's the principles that guide our lives. And when we know our values and we know what we stand for, it makes life so much easier, right? Because you'll know, okay, this is aligned with me or this is not aligned with me. And
mm,
you're so right. Like when you think about your heart and you go back to the matter of heart, tying it into your values is a great place to start. For me, I would say, one of my values when I think back to throughout my whole life is a value of me is family. Like family is so important to me. But yet in the season of my life, you would hear me say that, but there was nothing of my actions that made that statement true.
mm,
Right? So we got to really look at what are we actually saying? What do we believe is true? And how is that aligning to our actions? So when you think about your life, what matters most? And I think most people would say either out of a guilty conscience, right? What matters most to me, Jill, is my family, or what matters
mm,
most to me is God. Okay. If that statement is true, what are you doing to show that that is true, right? Are you leaving work at 5 p.m.? Are you home? Are you present? Are you leaving the work behind and fully being there? Are you taking the necessary time for if you're married with children, for your kids? Those are the questions where it's like, I say that's my number one, but when I look at my satisfaction level of my life with my family, it's very low. If I look at how much time I'm spending, it's very low. So our priorities, when I say it's a disordered heart, is sometimes we find ourselves burned out. We find ourselves so just feeling empty, really.
mm,
And so many times we look at the external things of the world and we think, this is why. I found that with my story. I felt very unhappy in my life. I felt very unfulfilled. Um, I felt like I deserved so much more than I was getting. And so, to me, in my small human mind, it went right to, well, I just need more of this, right? I just need more of that. Or let me numb that pain. There's things going on I don't want to deal with. So let me just grab the bottle of wine every night and numb it. And so
mm,
it's fixating on some of these external things, right? Which I call that conditional happiness, where, okay, well, if I just get this, then I'll be happy. If I just get this, I'll be happy. And so in my own story, I found myself feeling really lost, empty, broken. And I was like, well, it's my work. It's, my job. It's requiring me to travel all the time. It's this, it's this, it's this. It's all these external things. And so what do I need to do for that? Well, I'm going to numb the pain, numb the work with alcohol. I'm going to, I'm not feeling really anything really good in my marriage right now. No, because I was never spending time in my marriage. I was just traveling and working all the time. So, oh, but my husband doesn't love me. So let me go find an external relationship. Let me attach myself here. Let me get all these things and then I'll be better. No, I found
mm,
myself broken, staring in the mirror, not even knowing the woman looking back at her. I was completely lost. And it was in that moment when I really, really found the power of stillness and presence and looking within your own. I was so angry and I would point all the fingers outside to everybody else. And it was very clear in those moments of stillness and moments of figuring out, that soul searching moment. Okay, what's really going on in here? Right? Because
mm,
you can sit here all day, Jill, and you can point the fingers at everything else. But I'm a woman of faith, and God really, really sat me down and said, whoa, 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 whoa.
mm,
There is another person in this mix, Jill. There's another person in the story, and that is you. And there are some things that you need to work on yourself. And let's get that right. Let's start there. And then let me show you what can happen when you start here and you get this heart all right and in the right orders and in the right flow. You're not going to be busy anymore because your priorities have been just backwards. Let's get your priorities in the right order and watch as the freedom and the doors start opening for you. And that's exactly what happened. And so it was in those moments that I really grabbed onto the fact that, yeah, I had my priorities completely backwards. And when I fixed that, I was able to navigate out of a lot of different things. Got very called into what my purpose is. So the doors just started opening. I think so many times what happens is, I speak a lot about women, especially is women, we take on so much. And, in my own journey of really navigating, I really found that there was 3 areas in my life that really contributed to a lot. My priorities were backwards, right? That's number 1. I had to figure out, what are my values? What do I stand for? Because when you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. I mean, anything that comes, you'll just like, okay. Because you're not on solid ground, right? So my goal in my life, and then as I coach women, is to get you back on that solid ground. Let's get you back on solid ground. Let's work on you, right? Because once you work on you, everything else falls into place. And so it was getting the priorities right. And then I found, I call them my 3 Ps. There was 3 Ps that were showing up in my life that was really, really holding me hostage to that busy life, that hurry life. And so it was in those journeys of really figuring out what those were. What was really going on. And so we can talk about that, but there was just some other things that was just continuously, as I look back on my journey, as I look back on my story, things that were just holding me hostage to that busy lifestyle. I had to get free of it.
Yeah. I would love to talk a little bit, as you're talking about value systems here and having a heart that is disordered. When you run into, how does conversations with clients go around this subject when we get a lot of pressure from society
Yes.
for our values to be God-based, family-based, God-based and family-based.
Yeah.
Some people don't want a family. Some people don't have a family.
Yeah.
Some people don't believe in God or believe in some sort of woo universe.
Yeah.
So when our values aren't necessarily aligned with like what society is telling us, I feel like that could also be a heavy disconnect of having a disordered heart. Like I don't fit anywhere, or I'm bad. So how does that
Yes.
work as far as being honest with yourself of, hey, one of my top values, I don't have a family. I don't believe in a higher power. My top priority is my health, or
Absolutely.
my top priority is my job.
Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
that work?
Absolutely. So listen, your values are not shaped by the world. Your values are shaped by you. And when there's a great exercise that you can do, but there are so many values, right? You can Google it, right? Type up core values. It'll give you a list of hundreds of values, right? And so many times when people do this exercise, that's the thing that goes in their mind. Well, I feel like my value should be this.
Mhm.
Okay, take the should out of that. No. We're not picking values on what others believe, right? You're picking values that truly light you up inside. When you read the word, it says, "Oh my, that matters so much to me." That's your value, right? So shit on the world, right? Do not live in this world like that, because that is what's happening. And believe me, I did it for way too long.
Mhm.
is you are taking yourself away from your authentic self, right? The goal of this life is to truly show up as your authentic self, because I do believe in God. And if you don't, but each and every one of you, I believe, is made with a unique, special gifts and talents and strengths. And so you have amazing gifts, right? And the world does need your gifts. And so when you're trying to show up and have values about what you think you should do or be, that's doing everybody a disservice, because that's not aligned with you, right? So you want to pick values that you're like, this really does. When I say this word, it means something to me. I feel something. Like a value of mine, I have 5. A value of mine is growth. I am a person who loves to learn and grow. So that's important to me. I want to always be growing and learning. I want to be surrounded like people like Sabrina and her nation, and people that, these women I can tell are women who like to grow. So I'm going to put myself in places where growth is also important to other people, right? Connection is a value of mine. I thrive on connection. Like this, I've been looking forward to this all week, because here's what I know. I got connected to Sabrina. Sabrina lives in Florida. I live in Indiana. Like we're both doing amazing things. And whoever is listening, I don't even know you. You're probably like Arizona, Phoenix. I don't know. But like that is, I think, is another thing that lights me up. Like that we're all in different places and seasons, but somehow the universe connected us together for a reason,
Mhm.
for a purpose, right? So yeah, my advice is really to really dig in and take the shoulds away of what other people think and believe, and really tap into what do you believe, right? Because when you start showing up as your authentic self, when you start showing up in this world, owning your values and not really giving a shit about what other people say, you are going to find that freedom. Like,
Mhm.
because you're too often, I know for me at least, I lived my life in that people pleasing. That was the one barrier when I said before that I realized there was 3 barriers that were showing up that was keeping me stuck. The one was living in a stage of people pleasing. So I'm a contributor by nature. Like that's my gift. I love, love, love to help people. I love to contribute to other people's success. I was a cheerleader. I'm still a cheerleader. Like I love to be the world that's like, go Sabrina, go, you got this. Like I love to help people and further their journey, right? But I had to realize that I have to put limits on that. Like that's a great gift. But you can't just contribute and contribute and contribute to everybody else and then not pour into your own self.
Mm.
So that was a big like eye-opening for me, is that, hey, yeah. That's great that you want to be a contributor and you want to help people, Jill, but not at the sacrifice of your own mental health and well-being. And so I had to, again, heart had to get flipped around. Priorities had to get changed. I had to fill my cup up first, right? I always love that saying, you can't serve from an empty cup. I had to fill my cup up every day. That's why I created my morning routine. Game changer moment for me. It's a non-negotiable in my life, is because I find so much joy in creating that moment of stillness for me, like uninterrupted time where I can do whatever the hell I want. I can read and get into the word. I can listen to a great podcast. I can read a book, something that's going to fill me up so that I can go out and do what I love to do, which is to contribute to other people. So, really, that's a long, I get so winded. I'm sorry, Sabrina, but that fires me up, is like when I hear people say, well, what if my values aren't this? Like, should I do that? I'm like, no, pick something that resonates with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a thing. I remember doing a workshop myself even and having a conversation like that with the woman holding it, of feeling, I think she gave us a list of like 50 or something. And she had us divide it between like no feeling at all and like a feeling of like it being a value. And then she had us take that list and like go down to like pull 5, like just go down every single one of them, really pull and then pull 5. And I remember saying that, like, I feel like this should be a value, but like, I don't really give a crap.
Right. So it's not. Yeah. Yep. I do the
Yeah.
same thing. I say go through it first and just like go through and mark off what's not important. Like when you read it, if it doesn't do anything, it's not a value, right? So just mark it off, right? Then you're going to go back and highlight like 20. Okay, that seems important. And then go back, just like you said she did with you. And
Yeah.
then land anywhere. I mean, really, you should have about 5, if not 3, right? Because I always say if you make everything a value or everything a priority, like nothing's really important to you, right? So you really got to hone it down, but it's hard because you're
Yeah.
like, there's a ton of words on there and you're like, okay, well, that feels good, right? Like I had a guilty conscience like that. I didn't have like faith or spirituality as one of my ones, because I am very much a faith-based person. And I'm like, but these other values really tie into my faith, right? So it's not
Totally.
like I'm leaving it out. It's
Yeah.
all part of my faith journey. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of individuals who, do the work and who
Mhm.
are high achieving and are, constantly striving to be the best that they can be, I think a lot of times those type of individuals can get stuck in this burnout or this constant like hamster wheel of doing all of the things all of the time.
Yeah.
What do you find are some of the barriers
Mhm.
that, keep them there?
Yeah, so I'm a high achiever myself, and that's why I love to work with high achievers, because I get you. um, so what happens is the barriers are most high achievers struggle from perfectionism, right? If you're relate to the Enneagrams, I'm a high 3. Enneagram 3s are achievers. And so perfectionism is in your wheelhouse, right? And so often, I don't know if other people can relate to this, but for me, I was like, that's a gift, that's a strength, right? Like I proudly say it, I'm a perfectionist. Well, there's good to that, sure. Like people can rely that you're going to make it perfect and you're going to get it right, right? But the bad part of that is you will face burnout. You'll face burnout because what's happening is it's never good enough. It's never good enough. Like it can be the most excellent thing, perfect, perfected, amazing, and you're still like, it's all right. And so what happens is so many times high achievers find themselves burned out is because they're focusing on all the things that they have to make perfect. What else is showing up is a sense of control, right? Perfectionists love to take control of things. Why? Because they want it to be flawless
Mm,
in their work, in their personal life. And so they want to take control. And so what happens is they don't leverage resources. So you might be awesome at this one gift, and you have a team over here that's also awesome, right? But you're probably really, really good over here and you should just go do that, right? Because all this other like stuff in the weeds, like really doesn't need your expertise. Like
mm,
you're above that. I mean, not to say that you're above that. I don't believe anybody's above anything, but you know what I mean? Like you need to be, if you have somebody on your team that can do that just as good, maybe they're not going to do it as efficient of you, right? They're going to do it their own way because that's how they're wired, but they're going to get to the same result. Let it go, right? Like
mm.
for me, I struggled with that so freaking bad. And so what would happen is I would be like, okay, yeah, I really should not be spending time doing this, but just go over here and ask her to do it or train her to do it is just going to take more time. So I'll just do it, right? Well, then you just keep doing all those things that you're like, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. And you're robbing yourself because what you should be doing is probably this $3 million project, or you should be focusing on things that are going to excel your growth. If you're in the entrepreneur world, like Sabrina and I, like you can't do it all, right?
Mm.
You need to leverage what you're really, really good at, what God made you or what you were aligned to do in your life, and go do that and let other people, let go. So I think perfectionism is a huge one that shows up. The other area is what I was talking about earlier is people pleasing. A
Mm.
lot of times, high achievers, they are people pleasers, right? They've gotten to where they are because they're good with people. They love to help other people. Um, and so what's happening is fear of rejection is showing up, right? That's what people pleasing is, all rooted in fear. Perfectionism, that's rooted in fear. All that is fear of failure. So you got fear of failure, you got fear of rejection. And then the other barrier that I noticed that was showing up in my life is just procrastination.
Mm.
And so what happens is, I mean, you're so busy, right? So you're so busy because you're over there just perfecting it, spending time on stuff that should have been done last week, but you're still analyzing the heck out of it. You're burnout and you're stuck because you keep doing other people's job. You keep, when somebody comes over and says, "Hey, would you do this?" It lights you up because you're a people pleaser and you're like, "Oh, I feel like I'm going to help you." Yes, I would love to help you. But you forgot that you have all this other stuff that you're supposed to get done before the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you put others' needs before your own, right? And so what happens is then you find yourself in a state of procrastination, right? And you're like, I can never get anything done. And a lot of times what happens is you're picking the things that you don't really want to do, right? You are procrastinating it. And why are you procrastinating it? Again, it's fear. All three of those go back to fear. Procrastination is just rooted in fear. There's a reason why you're procrastinating that. And a lot of times it's, "Oh, I don't think I can do it." Or "I don't have all the answers and I'm too afraid to ask because if I ask, well, they're going to think that I don't know what I'm doing." Or, "Man, I was really looking for this promotion. And if I speak up that I don't really know, well, maybe I won't get the promotion." Right. And so you just procrastinate it. And what happens is you miss that opportunity. You just keep letting life, what happened in mine is I look back and I said, man, I have been finding excuses after excuses after excuses. And I am just procrastinating my life away. I am just staying stagnant in a life that's so less deserving because I am letting other people control me. I'm not showing up as my authentic self. I'm not speaking my truth. What happened? People pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination. What happens when you stay in those three stages for too long? Here's what happens. You start muting your voice. You stop speaking up for the things that you know you deserve. You just procrastinate your life away and you just stop and here is what I hear all the time. It's just the way it is. It's always going to be this way. I'm never going to change. He's never going to change. This job's never going to change. It is the way it is. And I say, oh, stop. Stop. Because you're in this mix. You are in this mix. Your life is not for other, your life does not revolve around other people. You have a voice, right? And so that is what happened in my life as I just slowly, ever so slowly started to mute my voice. I stopped speaking up, just was like, yep. I mean, this is all I know how to do. I've only been in event management. I've only been a project manager, right? We start putting labels on ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know. This job sucks. I'm burned out. I don't love it anymore, but what else would I do? So I'll just keep doing it. And then what happens is when you get in that mentality of procrastination and in that mentality and mindset, oh my gosh, mindset is a huge thing. Those lies will fill your soul. And it's in those lies and it's in those moments where you think, yep, this is it. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. This is all my life is going to be. And so those emotions are coming up. And those are the emotions that you need to really sit with because they're lies that your ego, your little mind up here wants to tell you. And if you're like me, I believed them. Why did I believe them? Because I was too busy and didn't want to deal with it. Right? So many times people get so we're busy doing all the things because what's happening really is there's stuff going on. But you don't want to deal with it. So you just push that away with what? More work, with more things, more agendas on the calendar so that, because let's be real. Nobody really wants to sit with feelings. Nobody really wants to sit with our emotions, but it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. If you are burnt out and you're lost and you're broken and you're walking this world, like sit down. You got to sit with yourself and figure out what's really going on. You need to call those lies out. And so that's what happened is I just didn't want to. I just believed the lies. And by believing those lies, that led me down a very dark valley of shame, of lies, of remorse, of guilt. I would get home every day. I was exhausted. So I grabbed the bottle of wine. I would just numb what was feeling because I didn't want to talk about it. I was done making decisions. I made decisions all day at work. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Just let me numb this, right?
Mm.
Or let me go travel. Let me, traveling's fun. Then I can escape the home life, right? And bad habits started forming unfortunately, until I hit that rock bottom moment. But I always say, look at it in a different way. Look at it as, in that moment, I had two choices. I could sit in that rock bottom moment and say, yep, this is my life and it sucks. How did I get here? I don't know. And keep doing the same pattern. Or you could pull up your big girl panties and say, shit, how did I get here? I don't even recognize myself. This is not even me. What's going on? And find help and search within. And I did two of those things. I found a life coach who was transformational in my journey. And I finally sat my ass down because I was too busy, right? I was like, I don't have time to sit down. But I finally sat down and started to ask hard questions of myself, dig deeper than the surface, stop believing the lies of the enemy and start believing in the truth. Stop living my life for others and realize, hey, Jill, you actually do have something to say. You've got a voice. Let's start using it, right? Your number one gift in all the assessments, all the tests, all the Gallup Strength Finders is communication. Why are you not communicating, right? And so it's in those journey that, finally sitting myself down, that those revelations came up of there's a lot more going on than just a toxic job or a work environment, right? And burnout isn't always necessarily your job, I was burnt out in my job, but guess what? There's a whole lot of other things going on behind the scenes too, right? Your personal and your professional life are one. They really are. And I am very, very much a believer that in order to get all the areas of our life fixed, right? It goes right here. You got to go within. And that's why I always say you got to start with the heart. We got to figure out what's going on with the heart. Where are our priorities? What's going on? Let's dig in. Let's ask ourselves those soul-wrenching questions to figure out what is keeping you stuck? What is keeping you burnout? What is keeping you on the hamster wheel life? And so for the high achievers, I would say ask yourself with all three of those: people pleasing, perfection, and procrastination. Which one of those three do you feel like is taking a really big grip of your life? Which one is holding you stuck the most?
Yeah.
Start
definitely.
figuring out one step that you could take to stop that and propel forward.
Yeah. I know you talk a lot about morning routines.
Yes. It's non-negotiable for me. Yep.
Yeah. What is your morning routine?
So mine is, I get up. Why I created it was the moment of clarity that I was busy doing all the things, and I couldn't remember a time that I did something for me, right? And that's what usually happens. People find themselves burned out because what happens is we start to take away the things that bring us joy. So if our work is really, really busy, we say, okay, well, date nights have to stop. Coffee with friends has to stop because I have to take all this necessary time. And I'm like, do not do that. Because what you're doing is you're robbing yourself of the things that you love. And the more that you keep taking away all your fun zones, all the things that bring you joy, you're going to keep feeling more burned out. And so that's where I found myself is I was like, when have I done something for myself that I just truly brings me joy? And what is the first step I can take? Right. So I had really young kids at the time. I still do. They're 11 and 7. But they were really young. And so I just felt like all I did was get up, go to work, come home, feed the kids, go to bed. And then I would find a glass of wine. And I thought that that's what would bring me the joy, but that just numbed a lot of pain. So the morning routine was like, all right, I love coffee. And I felt in those years, I had no time to just do something for me. So it first started with getting up and finally working out, because I used to love to work out. And not that I love to work out, but I knew that it made me feel good. So I'm like, okay, what's one thing I can do? I could get up and I could just work out, because that will, not that I don't really want to do that, but I know that it'll make me feel good. So I did that for a little bit, and that was good, but I was still like, okay, well, this isn't really doing it. Like, this isn't giving me. So I decided to push my alarm clock 30 minutes before my whole household got up, have the coffee on the timer. And then I just was like, what would make me feel good? And I love podcasts. That's when I started listening to podcasts. And I was like, found a really good podcast that like was super motivating. And every morning I would get up and I would just listen to that podcast, and it changed my mindset. It got me in a mindset of thinking, today's going to be a great day. Today's going to be a good day. Right. And I was waking up before my kids. So by the time my kids got up, I had already had a cup of coffee in me. I was ready to go. Lunch boxes were made. Their stuff was like, the flow of the day just started to get me better. And so I just started tapping into that. And I'm like, and now my morning routine every day is a little bit different. But it's always, at least now, it's an hour before my kids get up, because I love it that much. So it can be getting up and getting into the word of scripture. It could be listening to a podcast on some days. Some days it's reading a chapter of a book. Some days it's doing a little bit of that and then going downstairs and working out. It's just whatever is going to bring you joy. The other thing that I did that was a game changer, and something that I'm highly advocate of, is stop getting up and reaching for the phone and checking emails and social media. That's what I did all the time. I would roll out of bed, and within 1 second, I would be scrolling social media. I would be looking at my calendar of all the meetings I had. I would go to the emails, and instantly what happens? My anxiety would just be like through the roof, right? So in a matter of like 5 seconds out of waking up, it's like jealousy, comparison from social media, the feelings of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy showing up. Oh my gosh, look at all that I have to do, right? In the matter of seconds. And I was like, screw that. Like, that can wait. I've just gotten the habit of saying that can wait all the time. And just really being adamant to like move the tabs, move the social media tab, move the email tab to not the front of the page, right? And just be very mindful that I'm giving myself, I deserve it, but I'm giving myself 30 minutes in this morning to do something for me that will get me in the mindset of feeling good. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Love that. I want to do a shout out really fast to those watching live. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with Jill and I. Obviously, you have a ton of people that are resonating with all the goodness that you're saying. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what you do, who you help. I mean, obviously they're connecting.
Great.
So, let us know what you do, and then let us know who you work with, like who should be reaching out to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So, as Sabrina said, I'm a coach. I'm a high performance coach. So I help women essentially work less, get more done, and rise up. And so what I mean by that is I really tap into women and relate to women. Maybe, and it not necessarily doesn't have to be in the corporate world, but I relate to the women who have reached some point in their life where they have been working, they've been doing all the things, right? And they just feel stuck, right? They either feel stuck in their job, they feel stuck in their marriage, just something feels off. And they are just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, right? So what I do is I coach women to really tap into, let's figure out what that is, right? Just like a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about today. We go back into, what did you love to do as a child, right? We do a lot of inner work. I believe that professional breakthroughs happen when we really dive in first. And then we work through the productivity things. Like, I'm a project manager by nature. So this girl's got productivity habits. I got organization skills. I love all the details of that. And we can fix that, right? But my coaching style is a little bit different. Is we go to the inner stuff first, right? And I love to help people dream. Like, what are the things that you're running to do, right? Tap into your purpose, tap into your gifts, understand your strengths and talents. And then provide the breakthroughs that you've been looking for. So that's how I coach women. Yep. And I do that through one-to-one and group coaching. And then also host a lot of working on different events and retreats as well to really bring women together.
Beautiful. And for those that want to check out more about you, want to follow you on social media, where can people do that?
Yeah, so you can go right here on the screen to, go to jilloboyle.com. On social, you will find me on Instagram at JEOBoyle, and then on LinkedIn as well. I'm on there, pretty active on LinkedIn. Just give me a follow on Jill O'Boyle.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, sharing so much information. I took a ton of notes, and I hope those watching live or on the replay also were able to get some beautiful golden nuggets out of those. For those that are here and are resonating with all the goodness that Jill O'Boyle shared with us, make sure you connect with her. Her website, again, is jilloboyle.com. It is in a clickable link in the description, wherever you're watching us at. And then, of course, her social media. We love to make sure that we're connecting people here on this platform so we can all continue to rise. Any closing thoughts, Jill, as we wrap up?
No, thank you so much, Sabrina, for having me. And I would just say yes, for anybody listening, one of my biggest things too is authenticity. And so just go out, be you, love life, and just rise up. I can't stress it enough how much authenticity you matter. The world needs more of you. So love you all.
Absolutely. In agreement with that. And with that, that brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you, Jill, for sharing your wisdom and inspiring us all. To our dedicated listeners, those watching live and on the replay, make sure you follow, like, and share this video wherever you're watching us at. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to share our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to lift each other up by having conversations just like